And then I heard this voice say, now I want you to let in.
Mm.
I kid you not. I started crying. I was like, let in? Let in what? And what I realized when I went through that whole process was letting go has its own challenges, but letting in, I felt took more courage
Mm.
because I have pivoted.
All right. Well, welcome back to the Rock Your Gift podcast, where we operate on the intersection between business, personal growth, and creativity. And today I have a really special guest. Her name is Yolanda Davis. She is a speaker. She is an author. She is a real estate investor. She is a powerhouse. I'm super excited to have you. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's start this off by getting clear on like, who are you? Like, what do you do? What is it that, you bring to the world?
Um, who am I? I love that question because I'm an evolved person, an evolved soul. And what I mean by that is I started as an adult as a U.S. Air Force veteran and went into motherhood, went into real estate investing. Um, when life took a different course, I wrote my first book, so that made me a published author. I've done some professional speaking, and I have heavily dived into personal growth and development. And yeah, who I am is this amazing, evolved person in the world. That's the way I like to describe
I
myself.
love that. I love that. And I'll just jump right in because when I first met you, you were sharing on a stage and there was this power, this energy. You got us all up out of our feet on our feet and take us through a process that was all about making a decision.
Yeah.
And a powerful decision is really the centerpiece of what you're about, helping people to decide to take a new step in their life. So tell us a little bit about that. What's that mean?
So when we met, I was talking about the pivot decision. And that came from my experience of having um, the feeling of being stuck in my own life at one point, and also having friends around me who I felt were stuck. And it wasn't about just being stuck. It it occurred to me that it was the lack of decision to move. And I was like, okay, if I make the decision, then I'm going to do it. And so I just married the two words, decision and pivot. And so I was like, okay, I am going to make the decision that I am going to pivot out of what it was that I was in, and I am going to get on with life. And so that's what you heard me talking about. And I think at the root of the pivot is to make the decision and be okay with it and then get moving.
Mm. And so give us some examples of like places in life that people can be in where it's time for them to pivot, or maybe your own story, what is happening where you need to make a pivot decision.
My own story. I went back to being single. So let's just say it that way, right? And it was many years of being in a committed relationship, and that in and of itself brought a mental transition, physical transition, financial transition, and everything. Because one, I was a stay-at-home mom, and let's just be real. I'm as strong as I am. I had those moments where I wasn't moving, but I like to describe myself as a resilient person, um, relentless by nature. Some of that comes from my family, and I was sitting and just kind of going through my life, getting in touch with who I wanted to be at that moment, but I couldn't become who I wanted to be if I stayed who I was.
Mm.
So something had to take place. And I found a way to pivot. But now, before I say that, I started taking personal growth classes and things like
Mhm.
that. So that really set me up to have the courage um, to do something new.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing a whole bunch of things newly.
Yeah, can you give us an example? What's something that you did that was new?
So I lived one in what's the Inland Empire,
Mhm.
San Bernardino County, and I just took this leap of faith, I guess you would call it, and I moved to San Diego County. What I noticed when I was going through that transition is that sometimes, and even oftentimes, when you are released from things, people, places, situations, or whatever, when you release yourself, um, and you find that you have these quiet moments. Some people call them down moments, quiet moments, introspective moments, whatever they are. um, I began to experience listening to myself, um, connecting to things that could not necessarily be the focus when I was in my previous life, um, but they were still inside of me. And because of the release, if you will, I got connected to the fact that as I am an Aquarius, I love the water.
Mhm.
Um, I've always wanted to be near the water. From out of nowhere, I just started scrolling and I said, I'm going to move. And I moved to San Diego County, didn't know a soul.
Mhm.
And that was a major pivot to the point that my children, my adult children called and they were like, "Where did you move? Why did you move so far?" It's like, far from what?
Mhm.
This is a new beginning.
Yeah.
So that would be the first example. The second one is, I would say, just powerfully pivoting to own who I am. For many people, um, I think sometimes when you're in relationships, a part of you, I want to say gets, I don't want to say lost, but pushed down. And I can say this from speaking to a lot of women that you lose a part of yourself sometimes on this journey. And one of the second pivot was really taking time to get connected to who I am,
Mhm.
my roots,
Yeah.
where I come from, the strength that I have, the gifts.
Mhm.
And so that has been so freeing
Mhm.
and just a really good pivot for me. So
That's
that,
awesome.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
And I know that there's like people in your life that you have seen that represent that you know they could break out of the box that they're in. And you have been helping people, whether through speaking or through your books or through coaching. So, what is it that you would say to somebody who's up against, whatever it is that people go through that gets them a place where they need to make that decision? What do you say to them? How do you advise them? Do you have a process? Like what's the steps of like helping people through the pivot decision process?
As I have grown with my book, my coaching process, the first thing I now ask people is if you could pivot and have your life to really be the way you want it to be,
Mm,
what's the first pivot that you would make?
mm,
And just get quiet.
mhm,
I've had responses from people saying nothing and tears just rolling
mm,
down their faces,
yeah,
their face. And I think because I'm an extrovert and I have a very high risk tolerance, I normalize that. But on this journey, I will say that I have met people who have a very low
mhm,
or lower
yeah,
risk tolerance.
right,
And so there's fear of being alone and fear of starting over,
Right.
fear of having half of what they may have.
Right.
And there's just so much to go into it. I do want to say that when I first started out, I would bring all of my military male energy. It's like, come on, just pivot,
Right.
let's get
Right.
going.
Uh-huh.
And as I have nurtured this process, it is it's more now of asking questions and allowing for people to answer that question and be with that question and then
Mm-hmm.
nurture them through coaching,
Yes.
okay, to pivot.
Right.
And now I'm the kind that I like canyoneering, like climbing up the world, rappelling down the rocks with the
Gotcha.
waterfall. Well, everyone's not going to do that.
Right. Right. Right.
Okay. But they could be the one walking up and the help aid, if you will. And so I've learned to be patient with where people are. If I if that answered the question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think that that's such a powerful question. And my guess is that there's a lot, if not a majority of people that they can look in an area of their life and say, if I could pivot in this area, this is what I would want, right? And so it's such a like universal situation that you're talking about. And then it becomes, well, what are all the blocks? I would pivot, but this, that, this, right? I can't pivot because of this, that, this. So I love what you're talking about, helping them to, nurturing them through that, because it sounds like is going to be some resistance naturally coming up around that. So what do you think about that resistance? Like, how do you navigate through or help people navigate through, or I know you said you have a high risk tolerance. But like, is it just, taking bold moves, or is there some side route? Like what are some ways to start to move in that direction when you're scared?
That's a really good question. And I love that question. I talk about language in my book,
Mm,
the internal language to self, and the internal language as well as the external language. And one of the things that I have people to do is to explore the language that they're saying to themselves, that
mm,
they're speaking to themselves.
right.
And what I have experienced is that language goes back many, many, many years to external language. So we want to get that cleared up. And we want to have a new language.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
And so when I
Mm-hmm.
talk about the book, one L in the book is about
Mm-hmm.
letting go of things, people, places, situations, language
Right.
that does not serve you. That's one of the
I
L's,
love that.
language. So they can write their own mantras,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And it's a practice that you have to
Mm-hmm.
practice and have take on a new listening
Mm,
to yourself
right.
and of yourself.
Got it. And so what is the practice like if I was to practice something outside of, let's say, being in a conversation with you? Let's say we had a coaching session. I uncovered that I want to make this pivot and I'm scared. And so, okay, let's take some time to, get better at listening. What does that look like? Do I meditate? Do I journal? How do I do that?
Well, one of the ways that I find powerful is one, let's get what you want to say to yourself clear
Mm,
and then say it,
mm,
then record it.
mm,
And I want you to listen to you because you've been listening to you for so long and it has you where you are.
mm.
But now that you have a new message to self,
Yeah.
I want you to practice listening to
Wow.
that several times throughout the day. Then I want you to text me
Mm-hmm.
and tell me that I listen to myself and I'm getting more comfortable and
Mm,
I'm embracing listening to myself in this new way.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
I love that. I'm assuming there's another L or there's
There
another
is,
step. Where do we go from here?
so there's language and there's listening to, what you say and also what others say to you. When I was writing the book, I was so thrilled to get to the let go section. Oh, I get to let go of all this stuff, you know.
Right, right.
Um, and I worked through that, and I thought I was going to go through it quick, you know. It was like you let go of one thing and three other things showed up. I was like, oh my gosh. And I let go of those three things and another thing showed up.
Mm,
And I think it was that way because I was really trying to get to um, the most authentic version of myself when I put this book out. And as I was sitting there on my sofa, it was like I felt like was like, "Okay, that's great." And I got an applause for letting go.
mhm,
And then I heard this voice say, "Now I want you to let in."
mm,
I kid you not. I started crying. I was like, "Let in? Let in what?" And what I realized when I went through that whole process was letting go has its own challenges, but letting in, I felt took more courage
mm,
because I have pivoted. I have new communities all around me, and in order to grow, I feel that you must learn to let in the new version of who you are, the new environment, the new people, the new relationships. And I had to sit with that, and I realized that I was still guarded in some way. And so if I'm guarded, I make the assumption that it's a process for others as well.
mhm,
And that has given me the patience to just work with people so that that's the next L. And let in the new version of you, the
mm,
new language that you're speaking to you, let it all in.
mm,
Yeah, let it remold you, remake you, you
mm.
know? So, yeah, that's the other
That's
L.
amazing. So letting go
Yes.
could be what are some examples of things that people can let go of?
Um, One, the other L that we just talked about, let go of the language that
Right.
no longer serves you.
Mhm,
Let go of the people that
mhm,
no longer support the journey that you on. And there's this saying people have said, "Oh my gosh, you've changed." Yeah, many of us have experienced that when we began to grow and evolve. And it's like, okay, well, if they continue to be less than supportive,
right.
what does Mel Gibson say? Let them. And I say, let them go.
Mhm,
You know, um, let go of things that you watch,
mm,
okay, that you may not even consciously be aware of.
mm,
You know, a lot of people on social media
right.
scrolling and watching, and,
Totally.
depression is very high these
Right.
days.
Yes.
Let it go.
Yes.
Let go of um, a lot of things. Like I let go of drinking
Mm,
because I had it that I'm a veteran. That's what we do.
mm,
I can live in that if I want to, but it didn't serve me in the manner in which I was doing it.
yes.
So let it go
Yeah.
because it's not serving me.
I think it's so powerful because I think people want to let go of things,
Yeah.
but they're in their patterns. They're in their stuck. So to have somebody to hold them accountable or to be that reflection to say like, no, you can let this go. I think that's one of the missing pieces for people is just like permission, And it's tough because we fall into these traps where we're we're scrolling on social media or we're watching the news or whatever the things are that aren't serving us. It's like there's nobody to kind of take us out of that spell. It's like a spell, right? But then if you made a list and you said, okay, these things aren't serving me, it would be really clear. It's like, I don't think watching the news is serving me. I don't think drinking is serving me. Or I don't think, right? And so it's like, all right, what would my life be like without these things? Now you say, well, am I going to actually fall through on it? Right. Cause it's just our habits and patterns. So I think that's where you come in to hold that space for people to actually let go because it's really hard to
It is
do it.
hard. And I think too, one of the things that I have found challenging within myself and others, and that is when we let go of things, we naturally want to replace it with
Yeah.
something.
Right.
And this is very difficult to say, but I've lived long enough now to know that it's true in a lot of areas. If you can let go and fill up that space with love, it will shift a lot of things.
Mm.
My experience is that there are many who have challenges with loving themselves, and that can go all the way back to the beginning of language.
Yeah.
And so we talk about love for self, love for mankind, love that moves like the heart and the spirit, that you have nothing about life other than,
Mm.
you know what? I'm just here to love. And it's a quiet tone, but it's powerful when we get to that place. And I've seen people not really love themselves for whatever reasons.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. So pivoting, making that decision. How many people, I wonder, pass up those opportunities to pivot? How life keeps them going in a direction that they know doesn't serve them anymore, and how rare it is really for people to take that step and actually do something about it. I think pivoting is a sign of leadership. I think it's a sign of somebody who's evolved. And I think that it takes tremendous courage. I definitely know in my own life that I've made some major pivots, but I also experience where I have resisted and refused and come up with some kind of story that has me stay in that place for way too long. And I've seen other people who, there was a guy who is a pretty successful coach, and when COVID happened, I saw him pivot immediately into a whole new plan for his clients, a whole new marketing message. Everything shifted. He put out an offer that, was all about, the pivot plan, he called it. And I was like, how did he pivot so fast? Because I'm still here trying to get my head on this whole, like, pandemic scenario. So I wonder, like, how do we step into a place, and how did you step into a place of becoming more like willing to pivot? Like, did it just happen overnight? Was it because you said you moved and that was the first one? Or is this something that's like built into you, goes back to some of the personal growth work you've done? What really has this be your message?
To answer part of that question, it wasn't overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I experienced that internal voice once my former life was no more. Um, or should I say, my former relationship. That's because my life is still here. Um, it was just that internal voice of things that maybe I set aside that I began to listen to. And I think that when we learn how to listen to that internal voice and know how to honor, and this is a process, don't happen overnight, and know how to honor that voice and take ownership of that voice, um, the whisper, the internal compass, and really get connected to that yearning that maybe got buried, and language, have language that supports that one, like, I'm deserving of this,
Mm,
but that's a process to get to that place. And it won't be as hard as we make it out to be when we're only listening to just the head space. If we get connected to that internal spirit, it's like, okay, it could be a dream. It's like, oh, I remember I wanted to do that when I was younger, and I lost track of it,
mm-hmm.
and it comes back. It's a process, but I think the more connected you get to your truth, it becomes easier
Mm-hmm.
and can be done.
That's awesome. Let's talk about speaking for a second,
Yeah.
because that's something that you do really well and that I know you do a lot of, or you put yourself out there. And what is that about for you? Why do you love speaking? I know there's a lot of people who are watching and listening. They either aspire to speak or they are speaking and they want to do more of it. Tell us about why you speak and why that's important to you to get on stages.
That's another good question. Sean, I love to see people win,
Mm,
period. Um, and one way to really show up powerfully now is to speak.
hmm
Okay. Um, and the message about the pivot decision is it's really pivot to listen to that internal guide and then go live your life.
hmm
Go live your life
hmm
and do what is necessary. Um, you may have a short pivot, a long pivot, have fun with it. Be you.
hmm
Can you imagine just pivoting to be you?
Mm, that's so good.
Do, you know, um,
Mm,
some of us are stuck in false identities,
yeah,
not wanting to let people down,
right.
s- stuck in roles that no longer serve us.
hmm
Can you imagine if you just pivot and say, you know what? I'm going to pivot and for some be free the first time ever in their lives.
Mm, yes.
I can look through my lens and say, yeah, life it's been good. But for everyone, and well, not for everyone, but for others, maybe it wasn't so good.
hmm
So maybe my pivot is easier and maybe theirs is harder.
hmm
But what we have in common is a decision to
hmm
choose.
Yes.
I chose to pivot.
Mm.
And I like to encourage people choose.
I assume that there was some loss or some things that you had to give up or some challenges that emerged as a result of that pivot that you made or the first one or various ones. I wonder how you dealt with that because I think that's the biggest thing is I know for myself, it's again the yeah, but I have this, and this trapping that makes it impossible. It feels impossible, right? There's this, the reason why it's freedom on the other side is because you feel trapped, right? And so that trap feels like, you're cornered in from all places. And so it's like, I can't. So how do you deal with those possible fallouts or challenges that emerge when you make a new decision? Because there must be some, right?
There are, and when we first met, I think I had made reference to I grew up in the church.
hmm
I don't know if you recall that.
Yeah.
And so, in reality, the Bible is in me.
hmm
And so, if there's a real struggle, I go right to that word inside of me. I grew up in the church.
hmm
Um, that's the foundation for me.
hmm
And, like, for example, the word says, Greater is he who is in me
hmm
than he who is in the world.
hmm
So, if I walk in that and I stand powerfully in that, that's language for me.
mm
God said that he has come that I may have life.
mm
So, when the spirit of death is around me or, the negative energies, I have to choose, okay? Because I know the word. Now that's for me. Um, I have friends that I try to hang around that are positive, that are encouraging. Um, it's just again, it goes back to language and self-talk because I believe that I am here to live through God's word, that I'm supposed to have a good life. It's like there's no question, but I've languaged it
mm
like that, and I've been on this journey now for 10 years plus, And now I also want to say that I come from a pretty good family.
Mhm.
So the languaging there was pretty good also.
Nice. Mhm.
Okay. Um, you got to find that thing that you know the tough times are going to come, but you're already prepared. You got your group, your core group of people. You got you. Maybe it's not the Bible, but you got what you need, and it's like, okay, when this time come, this tough time, this is what I'm going to turn to, and my core group of people.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I love that. So we're going to need to wrap up in a little bit. We still got more time, but I want to make sure that you've unpacked all the L's. Make sure, people aren't like, wow, did I miss an L? So let's start with that. Like, how many L's are there, first of all?
I think I have 13
Oh,
now.
13 L's. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. So I
Yeah.
hope you can remember
Yeah.
that.
That's okay, That's okay. I'll get most of
Get
them.
most of them. Okay.
Yeah.
So can you lay them out for us?
Yes,
As many as you can?
the first one is listening.
Mm-hmm.
The power of listening, what we listen to, and I can just stay with that for the rest of the show.
Mm-hmm.
If you find listening to social media, and not that there's anything wrong, but find what really plugs into your spirit and elevates you.
Yes.
And then position yourself to learn.
Mm.
Learn what you want to learn. Learn who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to learn who you are.
Mm.
And you learn obviously from reading and listening, and the two go together. And then the next L is language.
Yes.
Incorporate that into all of that and everything that you do. Um, the next L is to let go
Mm-hmm.
when you're on this journey. And if it doesn't line up with the language and the listening and let it go. Let
Yeah.
it go, them go, that, because you're on a path now. You're on a mission. And so when you let go, don't stay empty. You can make it fun to let in, and let in the new people, let in the new experiences, let in the new version of you, let in the new language, let in all the new listening. And so that's the let in moment of self growth and expansion right there.
Mm.
And this part I just love. After you do that, I want you to lean in, and I want you to embody all that you just experienced.
Mm.
Just lean in. And I want you to remember we
Yeah, I do.
leaned
I did
in
that. Totally.
and really be with this journey, this process of who you are, who you get to be. Because now you're languaging who you are. Enjoy it, wear it.
Mm.
I love that part.
Mm.
So, yeah, I'm leaning in.
Yeah.
And then after you lean in, I want you to lead your life coming out of that lean in.
Mm.
Take on leadership.
Yeah.
And then after you take on leadership, I want you to go and leverage all of who you have become. You're stronger,
Mm.
you're wiser, you've grown. Go and leverage those relationships that you've built from all the people you have let in.
Mm.
And after you leverage those relationships, don't be afraid to level up.
Mm.
As a matter of fact, I say it this way: I almost dare you not to level up.
Mm.
You can level up by doing collaborations, partnerships. You know, we're not on this journey, I would hope, to just stay at a status quo level. Level up in where you go,
Mm-hmm.
who you hang out with,
Nice.
all of that.
Yes.
Yeah, bring that to the space. And then of course after you level up, I say there's really one good thing that I want you to do. I want you to go live.
Mm.
Live it up.
Mm.
Live up who you are now. Live it up.
Mm.
And after you live it up, while you're on that living up journey, I want you to spread love and build a profound legacy.
Mm.
You'll have fun.
Nice. Wow.
Now, I don't know how many L's that was, but,
But that was good.
you
I
know,
could feel the ladder
yeah,
climbing.
yeah. And so the fun part is that sometimes society tells us that you gotta have this, that,
Mm,
and other stuff before you can build a legacy. A legacy could be a book that you left. A legacy could be um, the smallest things, the smallest things that you can leave for people, your family, the world. Yeah. Legacy lets people know who you were and what you stood for.
mm, so good. I love that. I love being able to see the big picture of what you're really here to bring because it's really powerful and you live it, and I can feel that in you that this is authentic to who you are and that you're really a light for people. And so that's super inspiring. So tell us anything that you feel like hasn't been said in this conversation, anything that you feel like people need to hear that, we haven't come to the surface on, if there is anything.
I'm gonna say no, not really. I think we've seen enough misery,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I just want people to
Yeah.
live loud,
Mm-hmm.
live with your passion. And I was like, God, why is this so important? Um, I heard someone say, people, we all have a pulse and we're walking around here, but people are not living fulfilled lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's like dead but alive.
Yeah.
And I heard that somewhere and I don't recall where right now, but that's my thing. I really want people to live. Yeah,
That's great. So I'm sure people are wondering where they can find you, and I'd love to give a little bit of a plug to, I think you have a new book coming out, right? So
I
tell us a
do.
little bit about that, and then tell us about what they can do to find you.
So the pivot decision, and as I shared with you, I've rewritten it about 5 to 7 times, but I wanted to be the most authentic version of myself. Um, so they can find the book at my website, which is www.thepivotdecision.com.
Hmm.
And that book will be out the end of February, finally.
Nice.
Yay. Um,
2026, that is.
2026.
Awesome.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I am proud of the book. Like I said, I've rewritten it multiple times. I was like, no, I want this. The L's kept getting longer,
Yeah.
but I'm comfortable with it, and I think that's super important. To be comfortable with what you put out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So good. Well, you guys got a chance to really have a breakthrough, I believe, on this episode. And I want to make sure that you like this, you subscribe to this, that you share this with as many people as you know, because what we're doing here with the podcast, we're connecting with incredible leaders, incredible experts, and helping share a message that's going to inspire more people to live their dreams, to create their purpose in their life and to really excel in business and in life. And so if that is inspiring you, make sure that you subscribe, you like, you share, get the word out, and then comment below. If you got something of value today, make sure you let us know what are the biggest nuggets that you got. Is there any final words that you want to share with us today, Yolanda?
um, pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty clear. All right, guys, we'll see you on the very next episode of the Rock Your Gift podcast. Until then, have a great day. Peace.